God, my shepherd, I don't need a thing. You have bedded me down in lush meadows. You find me quiet pools to drink from. True to your word, you let me catch my breath and send me in the right direction. Even when the way goes through Death Valley, I'm not afraid. When you walk at my side, your trusty shepherd's croak makes me feel secure. You serve me a 6-course dinner right in front of my enemies. You revive my drooping head. My cup brims with blessing. Your beauty and love chase after me every day of my life. I'm back home in the house of God for the rest of my life.
A soft place to fall.
Welcome to Season 3 of A Soft Place to Fall. You heard me, Season 3 of A Soft Place to Fall. As you can say, we have a brand new set, a brand new sofa, a whole lot of brand new things in store for you in Season 3. We actually got a chance to go to Atlanta, Georgia to shoot the premiere of Season 3. We talked about relationships that everybody's talking about. We got deep inside of what defines a relationship. Watch it for yourself right here on A Soft Place to Fall.
A soft place to fall.
So we talk a lot about relationships, and in preparation for this series that we're doing, it came to mind. What defines a relationship? And of course, we would be remiss had we not called on one of the experts. And so thank you, Apostle Derrick, Zachary, for inviting us to Atlanta and to this setting, which is so anointed in itself. So let me pose that question to you for our viewers. What defines a relationship?
What defines a relationship? It's funny that we're getting on this topic, and it was due from Adrian, who's behind the scene, that had a barbershop talk, because we know that in barbershops we talk about a lot of stuff. And so it's amazing how people have their different definitions of what a relationship is, and they forget that first word in relationship, relate. And a lot of times we don't relate to one another. We tend to depict what we want to put on one another. And so relationships bring that place of the Father first into our lives, and who He is in our lives. So the first relationship is with yourself, and then with others, and then in relationships. And so, because if I don't understand me, I'm not going to understand the next person next to me of who I'm trying to be involved with or communicate or just a friendship. And a lot of times our first relationships start in family. And that defines how you look at relationships. And so again, if you got a bitter family, that's how you tend to be.
Wow.
If you have a loving family, that's how you tend to be. And so a parent plays a part in a child's life. How we relate to our mother, how we relate to our father. And sometimes we don't have a relationship with none of our parents. And so, and I hear women say all the time, I want to see how brothers treat their mothers, treat their sisters, because that'll know how they'll treat me. But I've learned that people can put on a facade because they know what you like or what you want. And so because they know what you like and want, we put on a chameleon spirit. And we adapt to your surrounding until we get what we want.
Right.
That's interesting, because in the whole process of putting this all together, we were tossing around the different levels of relationships and types of relationships, and got so confusing. And I literally was sitting down right before a Zoom meeting with this wonderful crew, and I want to thank them publicly once again. And I heard the Father say, just draw a cross on a piece of paper. And I did that. And it explained to me just what you did. It all begins in the center of that. Your relationship with you and the Father, all these relationships are horizontal, and then everything else extends vertically. No matter what kind of relationship it is, it's how you relate to the Father. Correct in saying so?
No, it is it's a true statement, and like I told you, the very thing that people miss when we talk about the cross is that, are you willing to suffer? Are you willing to die to you? Because think about when Jesus got on the cross, they nailed him. The first thing he did was carried it. So therefore, in a relationship, can you carry me? Because that'll determine how I'm going to deal with you. Because if you can carry me, no matter what I'm going through, I know you're going to uphold me and bring me through. And then the next part is, I got to be willing to die all of me so that you could live. Because think about the two thieves that was on the cross. One said to Jesus, remember me. He said, this day you're going to be with me in paradise. And it was an extension, the vertical, that extended to him, while the other one says, you Jesus, can't you get down off of this cross? And immediately there are people that want what you have but don't know how to obtain it. And so some people can never get to what you have because they're not supposed to be part of that. And we're too busy trying to extend an olive branch to something that was already dead. When we was out taking photos, we were watching trees. You got all this life around you and one tree that is dead, and it's the one that's dead that we'll focus on that dead thing and forget that we got life around us.
Yes, that was very interesting. Like you said, when we were out there in the park and we literally saw 3 trees looked identical and they were dead, and everything around them was vibrant and alive. So, and that brings to mind how we deal with relationships within our community once we extend outside of the family circle. What's that relationship all about when it comes to, and I see some questions bubbling up in this wonderful audience, and we'd be remiss not to acknowledge the fact that they're here. And I can see with my spiritual eyes some questions bubbling up in them, but we're going to get to them. But when we extend, once we develop that relationship, our inner relationship with the Father, and then the family circle, and then reaching out to the community and to, of course, our brothers and sisters in Christ, which is the most important relationship when dealing with outsiders, so to speak.
Again, a prime example is, look at what Jesus said. He said, who is my mother? Who is my who is my brothers and my sisters, but them that do the will of my Father? So again, sometimes we're trying to put people in our space when they don't carry the DNA of who we are.
Right.
And so oftentimes we run after stuff that is illegal to be in our space. And so when we extend it, again, everybody that's in this room is an extension of my Father. And again, what my natural family won't do, God will raise up other people to be that extension to say, this is what I brought to you, because they know how to carry me. They know how to push me. They know how to love on me. They know how to rebuke me. And I always tell people, as a leader, if you too prideful to where you can't get rebuke, then there's a whole situation, because again, we know the word says, rebuke not an elder. One, I'm not an elder. I can represent an elder, but my office is something totally different. And he says, I know you by the fruit that you bear. So I have to look at what seed that I sow that is now, and is it producing? Because if it's not producing, you have right to judge who I am. And so therefore, if when I come into your life, you ought to be an extension of me, and how I learn how you're an extension if I sit down and talk to you and commune with you and learn you. How can we know the body of Christ of folks around us if we don't sit there and conversate with them?
So true, so very true. Man, I tell you that, and once again, we'll back it up to our beliefs in divine connections. And I've often been told, I can tell your spirit just by looking at you, and that discernment comes in about how careful we should be when entertaining people, because the Bible clearly tells us be careful how you entertain strangers, because many have entertained angels unaware, and that is a very deep relationship when it comes to meeting people on such a level as this. I'm feeling questions over here. I'm feeling a lot of questions over here. So, Elise, is it? Elisa, I can kind of sense you going. You got a question bubbling inside of you. Yeah, no, you good? You ready? She's getting there. Okay. She's getting there.
I did have a question though, because you were talking about like community and branching out and that kind of thing. And I think for me in my experience, especially I'm a church girl, like I've pretty much I've born on the back of a pew. So when you start talking about stretching out and we talking about being unequally yoked, you know what I'm saying, and that kind of thing. So I guess in my opinion, when we start talking about relating, and I can't relate to somebody that's unequally yoked. So it's like what's the expectation around relationships? You know, in that sense. And the reason I say that is because I have a number of people in my circle who are homosexuals. I have a number of people in my circle, you know, they go hard in the paint in the clubs, you know what I'm saying, that kind of stuff. But I don't believe I should throw them away. I don't believe, and I really have great relationships with them. At least I feel I do. So when we start talking about that whole concept of relating outside and stretching and that type of relationship.
So, you said some key words. When we relating to people, you tend to find people of your kind. But again, when Jesus spoke to people, he didn't look at their sin nor their situation. He showed love, because again, the key word is, through loving kindness have I drawn thee. And if we're presenting love, it don't matter what your background is, because love will extend every direction to pull you in. There are several people that I have been, again, I can use William. This is his house. And so when he met me, I came to a whole party that was here. Right. And it was turned all the way up. And so when I came in, he introduced himself because he was the host. However, I sat in a room up under this room all by myself, playing with a baby while there's a whole party going on. And he was like, "You cool? You all right?" Cool. I left. He didn't see me anymore until years later. He saw me again. Almost the exact same thing. Didn't say a word. Rolled out. Again, but God was doing something, because oftentimes we want to preach Jesus to people and not live the life of Christ. And so therefore, he found me on Facebook. And then on Facebook, he was like, "I know you from somewhere." And then we communicated from there. And then all of a sudden, he started following me on Facebook. And he was like, "You know, you sit very quiet and talk real soft." He said, "But I heard you preach. And it's like a whole nother person on the inside of you." And so, again, he started saying, "Well, if you need anything, let me know, because I believe in your vision." And so you don't find people outside of the world that will speak to somebody that's in the church to say, "I believe in your vision," because we're too busy trying to clean fish before we actually caught the fish. And so, again, you can't clean something that you ain't seen, and you don't know where they are. And so, again, this is why the folks out in the world don't want to come to the church, because we too busy trying to dress them before they even get into the house of God. And the very sin is in the church versus outside. And so, again, he joined the church after COVID hit, because he was like, "I know one place that ain't closed down. Let me go over here." Because I do Bible study where we actually study the Bible, and I don't preach to people. Let's have this communication like we're having now. Let's dialogue. And ever since then, he's been part of that, and God raised him up to be the pastor. So again, God will bring people into your life that we have counted out. But God has counted in and say, "Watch what I do with this." So we got to be careful how we treat folks, because you don't know what is on their life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is very good. And I hope that our viewers are taking note of all that important stuff, because we tend to, like you say, count people out before we even know them. And that is probably one of the biggest problems I see in developing relationships.
That's right.
Wow, did you hear that? I was amazed. You'll be amazed as well. Oh my God.
A soft place to fall.
Are you covered, protected, and prepared? Don't you want to ease your mind by having the confidence that when the time comes, You and your loved ones are protected and insured. It's as easy as picking up the phone and calling licensed life agent Enidra Wells, 225-936-6017. With care and compassion, Enidra will walk you through the entire process of having you and your loved ones covered, protected, and prepared. No exams. Most pre-existing diagnoses are covered. No special requirements. So call today, 225-936-6017, and have the assurance of insurance. Here it is, one of my most favorite features here at A Soft Place to Fall. I get a chance to tell on people, get a chance to tell God about some of the wonderful vessels that He has placed in our lives. In our recent trip to Atlanta, Georgia, we had a fantastic time. Everyone was so accommodating and so hospitable and just wonderful. But we ran up on two individuals who were at our beck and call. Everything that was needed was provided as we weaved our way through uncharted territories in Atlanta, Georgia. They were just a phone call away. And for that, I'm going to tell God on Arnold Gilbert and William Richard, two very powerful, dynamic men of God. Keep doing what you're doing. God sees and He knows. If you have someone you'd like for me to tattle on, simply send me their information via email, asoftplacetofall@yahoo.com, and I'll be sure and tell God on them for you. Congratulations, you found it, a soft place to fall, right here. Are you enjoying what you're experiencing? The magnificent guests, the beautiful setting, all of this just with you in mind. We need your help. Why don't you consider sowing into the very fertile grounds at A Soft Place to Fall? You can simply do it using the Cash App, $Model Voice. If you want to continue seeing all of this beautiful exhibitions that we're presenting to you, helping you find your soft place to fall, we encourage you to support us. Now back to A Soft Place to Fall. Conversation got so heated talking about relationships. What makes a good relationship? When you know you're in a bad relationship. We talked about stuff that I didn't even realize happened in relationships. Let me share more of it with you right here on A Soft Place to Fall. We're back here at A Soft Place to Fall and Raw Talk, talking about relationships. It's kind of humorous to me that we merge these two things, because a lot of times in relationships you need a soft place to fall, because a lot of people, especially in these times, are falling on hard times. And relationships and dealing with relationships have a lot to do with just about every aspect of our lives. And we were talking about I don't want to misquote you, but we were talking about not counting people out, or counting people out that God has counted in. Is that a form of discernment, prophet, apostle?
I don't even think it's discernment at all. It's just common sense. But I do understand that common, it don't have the sense no more. So what we deem as what is common really is not common. And so one thing we got to realize is that if I sit down and just talk to you, it will make a big difference of how I relate to you. Because again, some relationships ain't supposed to be together. And some relationships are just supposed to be friends. And we try to make friends the partner, and then when it goes south, then we looking crazy. And before you get into any relationship, make sure you healed.
Amen.
That's
Because
the
again,
most important
we
thing.
go into relationship and we're not healed.
That's right.
We've been damaged, broken,
Yep.
or whatever. And if you've come out of a place of where you've been molested, raped, that's a whole nother thing to deal with. And so therefore, you got to know, because for me, I had to learn the hard way. I didn't like people touching me. So people say, well, I like touching. Listen, touching me, I don't like touching. I had to learn, and I was like, well, I don't like touching. Well, I've been molested and raped half of my life. And so the thought of you touching me came with a withdrawal. So I always kept people at arm's length. And because of people around you, I was in a place of pleasing everybody else except it pleasing me. And I thought if I pleased everybody else, that would make me happy, but it made me bitter. And made me frustrated. And so again, when people are trying to learn me or try to get close to me, I would just automatically cut you off because I wasn't healed. Now that I'm healed, I'm not about that. Listen,
It's a whole different situation.
it's a whole nother. Listen, I can tell your BS from afar off. I can tell when you just up to a sexual encounter. I can tell when you just supposed to be a friend. I can listen. That's when discernment kick in, because now you can say, listen, do you? But it ain't gonna be done here.
Right. Which brings to mind something that I've been tossing with for quite some time, and I actually made note of it because I wanted to, and that might be kind of throwing them off key. But we talk about relationships, and everybody says when a man finds a woman, he finds a good thing, he finds favor with God. And you said every relationship does not have to be a romantic sexual relationship. They're platonic relationships. And I do believe, and I may be wrong, I've been wrong before, and I was wrong thinking I was wrong. Some relationships are for a season. People are not necessarily in your life for a lifetime. And I do believe, and I forget who it may have been Maya Angelou in one of the Tyler Perry movies or something, when people get ready to leave, let them go. Let them go.
So let me ask you this question.
Okay.
Or for the audience that want to answer it, before I answer it, how do you know if a person is seasonal?
That's a good one. So you want to answer that
Right.
one?
Listen.
How do you know?
Your spirit rejects them.
Spirit rejects,
Yeah, that is true.
but sometimes you can just reject because you just want to reject.
Right.
Right.
Like you can call that out. Your season is over. It's time for you to go out of my life.
But sometimes don't you just diverge and pass? You know, it's just, you know, because I have a lot of people I grew up with or whatever, and what I understood later, because I was trying to hold on to them, but what I understood later was they were chasing things that I wasn't chasing, you know, or whatever. And so I realized later that we had diverged and passed. You know what I'm saying? We were going in totally different directions, and you know, and I kept backing up, trying to get, you know, to go back to them because, you know, or whatever, because comfort zone, used to, or didn't want to venture out to anything different or whatever. But clearly after a while, it was just like, yeah, they going a whole different direction from me, different space. So I was kind of forced to, you know, but I did learn after a while. I started to notice as I got older, people would come in and I could clearly tell that their path was diverging. We might have started walking in the same direction to get to something, but then eventually I said, oh, they going left. Okay, let me keep going right because I like going right, okay? So, you know.
So again, but that goes back to, you said something, to learn if something is seasonal. Seasonal people only stay on one level. They don't push you for better.
Right.
They don't speak into your life.
Right.
They're just there to keep you coasting. Because like the season, after the season is up, then they go right, or they go left, or they go somewhere else. Anybody that is intentionally, divinely connected will always push you into the greater. And will always speak greater. And have no problem speaking their truth to you to say, listen, I think you need to do this, because they're going to always enhance your better.
Right.
And so again, we discard better to go after leaves that have blown away. And it's like harvest time. We know September is harvest time. And so back in the olden days and in the Bible, the threshing floor On the threshing floor, they would throw up the wheat in the air. What the wind would carry off, that was trash. But what remained was so that you can have your harvest. And again, we tend to throw stuff up and go after what's been discarded, and the very thing that is in front of us, we bypass.
Yes. One thing that comes to mind in this, and this will, I'm sure you'll get to that. We talk about soul ties. And you see the look on these people's faces. And some people obviously don't know what that is.
Oh, shit, glory.
But soul ties are so true and so important. Is it possible for one person in a relationship to have soul ties and the other one does not?
That is very much so, because again, a soul tie is what it is. Let's look at what a soul tie.
Yeah, just
something
break it down
that you
for us.
have definitely tied yourself to where it is now a stronghold. And so when it's a stronghold, I can speak to Adrian all day long that you don't need to be in this relationship, but because it's a stronghold for him, he gonna keep going back to this relationship. He can leave it and then call back. So what a soul tie does, it produces the spirit of the siren. And so a siren in the Greek mythical thing, it comes in three parts. One lures you in, the other one is singing, and the other one helps you shipwreck. And so it's a three-part situation. And so if I'm so tied to something, I can be out of Johnny's house or Sue Ann's house and be minding my business, and in the middle of the night, their spirit can call to me, and then all of a sudden I need them. I gotta have them. And then all of a sudden I done invited Johnny or Joanne, and then all of them just can get in so easy, and then I'm back in the same situation. Or and again, you can get advice from different type of people, but that stronghold gonna keep you in bondage. It's gonna keep you there until the way to kill a soul tie is through fasting, accountability, and the word of God to destroy it. Because once you're free from it, listen, anything that remind you of it, you will shut it down real quick. Be like, I know what this is. And again, we've probably all experienced some type of soul tie to where we stayed in a relationship way past its due time.
It's interesting you should say that, because even when I mentioned that, I don't know if the cameras was on, the look on everybody's face and the expression, even in Nidra back there, it was like, oh my God. So that answers that question.
Because again, I mean, soul tie, my people know because I did a whole class on it. And so a soul tie is just not you in a personal relationship. A soul tie is something that you have put greater than God. So therefore, it can be a car, it could be family, it could be whatever, your job. Because you got folks that will bust their neck to get to their job, but give God only 5 minutes of their time. And so anything, and God always said, I shall have no other God before me. And so again, soul ties will keep you locked down, beat down, verbalized, dogged out, low self-esteem. It works all of those areas. And then you gotta build that back up to know that you are worth who God said you're supposed to be.
Like, comment, and subscribe to what? A Soft Place to Fall with Kerwin Feeling YouTube channel. See you soon.
A soft place to fall. A soft place to fall.